August 10, 2019, the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. It is a federal fortress designed to hold terrorists, cartel bosses, and high-value targets in total isolation. On this particular night, the system guarding America's highest-profile prisoner failed completely. 2 guards assigned to monitor his cell slept through their checks and later falsified the logs. At the exact time it mattered most, the security cameras outside his door inexplicably malfunctioned. By morning, Jeffrey Epstein was dead. The official ruling was a suicide, but his death ignited a global firestorm because of the massive trove of elite secrets that died with him. Epstein's 30-year operation of a prolific sex trafficking ring in plain sight points to a deeper systemic failure. The investigation now centers on how he built a machine so well connected that it insulated him from federal prosecution for decades. Epstein's trajectory defies standard logic. In 1974, at 21 years old, he was a college dropout with no degree and no formal credentials. Yet he somehow secured a job teaching calculus at the Dalton School, one of Manhattan's most exclusive private academies. His leap into high finance was equally sudden. He moved to Wall Street, eventually securing a lucrative consulting role for Stephen Hoffenberg, a corporate raider who would later be convicted of running a massive Ponzi scheme. Epstein's true financial anchor materialized in the late 1980s when he became the primary advisor to Leslie Wexner, the billionaire retail magnate behind Victoria's Secret. Wexner granted Epstein sweeping power of attorney, handing him total control over his sprawling assets and real estate. To manage the hundreds of millions of dollars pouring in from Wexner in fees, Epstein relocated his financial firm to the U.S. Virgin Islands. This strategic move reduced his federal tax burden by nearly 90% and established a quiet, offshore base of operations. He used this offshore wealth to construct a human shield, deliberately surrounding himself with the world's most powerful people and cultivating a social orbit designed to protect him. He embedded himself with global heads of state, securing relationships with former presidents Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, and gaining access to the British royal family through Prince Andrew. He pulled in the titans of the tech industry, building documented ties with Bill Gates and Elon Musk. This deep institutional embedding rendered Epstein practically untouchable by standard law enforcement for most of his adult life. That immunity faced a massive test in 2005. Local police in Palm Beach, Florida, began investigating Epstein after a parent reported he had paid her 14-year-old stepdaughter to strip and massage him. Detectives quickly identified 36 underage girls with similar accounts. The evidence was overwhelming enough that the FBI stepped in. Federal prosecutors prepared a draft indictment containing 32 counts for enticement of minors and sex trafficking, charges that carried a potential life sentence. Then, the legal process simply stopped. U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta intervened, signing off on a highly controversial non-prosecution agreement that completely bypassed a federal trial. Epstein pleaded guilty to a state charge of soliciting prostitution. Instead of a federal penitentiary, he served 13 months in a private wing of a county jail. He paid for his own security, enjoyed an unlocked cell door, and was granted liberal daily work release. The 2008 agreement explicitly granted broad federal immunity to 4 named accomplices and any unnamed potential co-conspirators, a clause that effectively halted further investigation into his network. The justice system actively weaponized this plea deal to silence victims and protect the powerful men hiding behind Epstein's shield. That silence broke in 2018. A deeply sourced investigation by the Miami Herald published the accounts of Epstein's victims, exposing the leniency of the secret plea deal to a national audience. The resulting public outrage forced federal prosecutors in New York to re-examine the case. Finding a way around the old non-prosecution agreement, the Department of Justice indicted Epstein on federal sex trafficking charges in July 2019. A public trial threatened to drag Epstein's entire social network into the light, creating a significant legal liability for his associates, a liability that vanished when he was found dead in his cell exactly 1 month later. The files he left behind sat largely sealed until January 30, 2026. Complying with the transparency mandate, the Justice Department released a massive cache containing over 3 million pages of unredacted documents emails and images detailing Epstein's operation. The release triggered immediate political bloodletting. Within months, President Trump fired U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi following congressional subpoenas regarding the Justice Department's handling of the unredacted materials. A wave of resignations swept through Wall Street and international business as the emails surfaced. Top executives abruptly stepped down, including the executive chair of Hyatt Hotels and Catherine Rumler, the chief legal officer at Goldman Sachs, whose communications revealed close advisory ties and gifts from Epstein. The legal consequences struck the highest echelons of global authority. Prince Andrew was formally arrested in the UK on suspicion of misconduct in public office, while former presidents Bill and Hillary Clinton were forced to testify behind closed doors to the House Oversight Committee. The financial institutions that facilitated his wealth faced their own reckoning. Wall Street giants J.P. Morgan Chase and Deutsche Bank paid out hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements to Epstein's accusers for maintaining his accounts despite internal red flags. The 2026 files finally stripped away the institutional shield, forcing a brutal worldwide purge of his enablers. Yet, amid the chaos and the millions of pages of evidence, the Department of Justice maintained a highly controversial official stance. They concluded there was no verified client list. This chart highlights the glaring discrepancy in the government's narrative. Over 200 women have received compensation from Epstein's Survivor Fund, yet the number of elite accomplices successfully prosecuted for participating in this massive trafficking ring remains effectively zero. The 2026 release confirms a highly organized operation that trafficked hundreds of victims and involved billions in complicit banking. This leaves an unresolved contradiction. If the network is now documented, why have the clients themselves never faced a courtroom?